Lawmakers leading both the Democrat and Republican campaign efforts for the House, banding together to call for unity in the wake of recent violence. Ohio's Steve Stivers led the GOP's efforts. New Mexico's Ben Ray Lujan, the Democrats. Watch.
Democrats are not my enemy. They are my opponents. And while we have different visions for the future of America, different directions for America, we are all Americans first. We need to come together and do what's in the best interest of America.
Look, no one should be politicizing what happened this week. We should come together as a country. This should not be a political response, but rather a response in how we can further bring us together.
Josh?
No, look, I agree. I mean, what should unify us is the unity of purpose, a unity in understanding what makes America different and great, what makes us different than our enemies, and how we have had resolve over the years to try to get rid of the kind of bigotry and hate that we have seen pop up all too often here in recent weeks. What I'm not for is to try to paper it over, as some of President Trump's critics would like us to do, and pretend like we don't have differences, and that our opinions cannot be articulated, and that somehow if we just stop criticizing what we see as bad policy, that we'll all be together and we'll all think that we're heading in the right direction. That's not what this country is. That's not what makes us great. What makes us great is the ability to have these debates, full-throated, angry, at times passionate, but at the end of the day, we understand that we're all on the same team here.
Yeah.
And
right.
I think
When are you
that's
running?
the most important.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting that you say I'm a Fox News, contributor, but I'm also part of a political family. So we've had this discussion in our own house. My husband's ads from this point forward have all been positive. In the last weeks of the campaign, there's a lot of pressure from consultants, and you know what this is like, to go negative. And what's been interesting is my kids have said, Dad, don't go negative. Don't go negative. Don't. And they saw the ad that the consultants wanted to put through. And there's a debate in our house, because whether we like it or not, negative ads actually use them because they work. And so do people have the political courage enough to go positive, show what they're for, instead of demonizing their opponents and painting them as enemies? It's an interesting conversation. It's happening in every single congressional race right now, and it's happening at my own house.
So just so people know that you have enough people to debate, you and your husband have 8
we have 8. So right
Seven
now,
of them
talking about who's outnumbered.
The little one couldn't, but everybody else.
It's interesting that you say that. So one of my children goes to school with children of people who work at CNN, and so they sit there and they kind of go back and forth, and they may say things, and I always worry about what they hear at school. And I say to my kids and to my kids' friends when they bring them over, I say, look, it's like being the Mets and the Yankees, or or you're on rival football teams, whatever it is, on the field. You may get very heated. You may talk smack against the other team, but at the end of the day, everybody walks off the field as friends because we're all in it together.
We're all Americans.
I don't know if I try to. I'm not always sure that's true. I try to live that example for my kids, but that's how I try and explain it. We can only lead by example. You can't change other people's behavior.
I love the fact that Melissa says smack.
Yeah.
I would have picked Kennedy for that vernacular.
Mercy.
So, Kennedy, we're talking kumbaya, we're talking togetherness and being Americans. It's a necessity. And does it always have to be around tragedy?
Sadly, it's not. Tragedy isn't even bringing us together anymore. It used to be, unfortunately, a unifying factor. And, we all remember how the country and in places like New York City, how people came together after 9/11 and, watching vigils in other parts of the world as they prayed for us and prayed for our country to heal. And it feels like we've really lost part in that. What I will say is, try becoming a member of a third party for a little while. And then you'll see what it feels like to lose every single election and to still walk around with a smile on your face.
My libertarian friend.
I mean, technically unaffiliated, but...
Right, there you go. She's always independent.
All right. Well, as we speed toward a 2-party election still. Sorry, Kennedy.